Hello, Bruce.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Hello, Simon.
And any of those aforementioned time zones unto you, our dear listeners.
How are you doing today?
So, who are we? What are we doing here? What's it all about, Alfie?
Okay, very quickly. I'm Bruce Fielding.
I'm Simon Wells.
We're voiceovers.
Yes, we are.
We do a podcast.
The podcast is called Factoraly.
It's all about facts.
Ta-da.
And
that was succinct. I enjoyed that.
And today's podcast
is all about...
What's it all about, Simon?
It's all about roads today.
I love roads. It's one of the largest of the Dodecanese islands in Greece.
Yes, you're right.
And it's the capital. That's what we're doing today, right?
Absolutely, Rhodes, the island. Yeah.
Yes.
We're going to sneak in a little bit about the chef, Gary Rhodes.
Yes, of course.
I can't really think of any other type of roads that we could be talking. Oh, what are those grey things that you drive on?
Yes.
How about those?
Let's do those instead.
Okay, there's more material there.
Yeah,
Go on
there
then.
is. There's a lot more. So what about roads then? Do you like roads?
I love a road. Yes, I enjoy driving. I like going out into the countryside. I like exploring around this fair nation of ours, and roads are obviously quite a big part of that.
Yeah.
Don't like them so much when they're full of traffic, but you can't have everything.
But no, I mean, as a carophile, I'm autophile.
Autophile. If that's not a word, it is now.
It is now. Then yes, I'm very much in favour of the road.
Good. Should we start with the definition? What is a road exactly?
It's somewhere that goes nowhere.
It's a thing that leads to hell.
Yep. It does all those things.
All of those musical things.
Yes, but it also goes from A to B, I guess.
Yes, it does.
And to C, and to D, and to E,
and beyond.
Yes.
It seems quite hard to actually get a clear definition on what a road is. We all know what a road is, but a road is not necessarily a road. In the broadest sense, a road is any path or trackway that leads from a place to a place.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But then that covers grassy paths,
yes,
motorways, gravel tracks. That covers a slight indentation in the soil, which an awful lot of people have travelled over the years. So it encompasses a lot of things, but we all know what it is, really.
Yes, but a road can also, I mean, where animals go. I mean, I would call that a track rather than a road.
Yes, good point. If we sort of look at the history of roads, what is the first road or the oldest road? There are those who suggest that animals created the first roadways, in as much that they sort of go along the same paths. They carve their way through the plains and all the rest of it. And humans eventually sort of followed the same tracks because they were the shortest, most convenient way to get from dwelling to water, or from high ground to low ground, or whatever.
There's a theory in America, which I think has been debunked, but I like the idea of it, that the highways that run east to west in America are based on the migration routes of bison.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
And that they sort of because they were packed down hard by all the bison sort of going backwards and forwards, and they kind of remained like quite solid roads.
Yes.
That's not the mother road, though, because the mother road was Route 66.
Oh, yes.
So Route 66 was a road that went from Chicago to LA.
As the song says.
As the song says.
More than 2,000 miles along the way.
2,448.
Indeed. It doesn't fit quite so well, does it?
Yes, well, it is technically more than 2,000 miles.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, he was right.
But there's very little of it left.
Yeah.
Have you ever driven on it?
I have driven on it. I've driven on a bit of the nasty new version, which is soulless and lifeless and bland. I've also driven on the stretch of the original concrete that does still exist.
I've driven on a bit of it near Barstow.
Okay.
In California. It's called Route 66, but it's basically a gravel track full of potholes.
Yes. It hasn't fared that well over the years.
No. But, it was started in 1926. So you can't complain. It's been there a long time, and it's been abandoned for quite a long time as well. But it did start a lot of that road trip kind of feeling about there being sort of motels and diners and things like that on the road. Yes.
I seem to remember reading a book of someone sort of travelling along, not necessarily Route 66, but old American highways. And they ran through every single town. You listen to the lyrics of Route 66 and it names all of the towns that it goes through.
Yes.
And you stop at each town and you go to a little local restaurant, you stay at a little local motel.
Oh, this is a tour that you can do, is it?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
But you sort of, the current Route 66 is, just this long continuous highway that goes around all of those towns. It's kind of like the plot of the movie Cars, really. Each of these little towns which, survived purely on the basis of motorists stopping in.
Yeah.
When the highways were built, they didn't go there anymore. And lots of these towns, went out of business and became derelict.
Well, like a ghost town after the gold rush.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Romans.
Yes.
Shall we talk about the Romans?
Let's talk about the Romans. It's always either the Romans or the Greeks, so let's talk about the Romans.
Well, we've talked about the Greeks, haven't we? Because we mentioned roads.
Yes. Nice. That was fun.
So let's talk about the Romans then. All roads lead to Rome.
So they say, yes. I don't think that's strictly true. I think all roads lead away from Rome.
Ah, okay.
Because the Roman road building system started in the capital of Rome, and they started building roads that led out to all of the other places that they occupied.
Yeah,
so actually all roads led away from Rome.
Well, they were kind of military roads, weren't they? They were sort of like for soldiers to save them from having to sort of scrabble about the place.
Yeah, yeah. I was surprised to read how structurally advanced Roman roads were. They're proper things. They're paved.
Yep.
They had a process called metaling, which I had to look up in order to find out what it meant. It's nothing to do with metal, but they put the paving slabs in, and then they fill in the gaps with crushed rock, which is called metaling, from the Latin word metallum, meaning quarry.
I've always wondered why they were called metalled roads. It's
I'd never heard the term until now. That's why. So it's the Latin metallum, meaning quarry.
There you go. But they also dug down as well. So they put sand and gravel, and they made them sort of cambered so that they didn't retain water and stuff.
Yeah, so that they drained properly. They had footpaths and bridleways on each side, like we would have pavements.
Yep.
And they were straight. I seem to remember as a kid, every time we went on holiday and we drove along a particularly long, straight road, Dad would say, it's probably Roman.
Yes.
They just they were very efficient. They were great engineers. They made the shortest route from here to there. I read there were 29 military highways. Right.
And 372 what they called great roads, which was like roads off the military highways.
Yeah, yeah.
Which amounted to about 250,000 miles of paved roads.
Good grief.
The Romans created.
And obviously not just in Italy, but all of their
all over the
empire
as well. Yeah, absolutely. Amazing.
Wow. I read that the first official Roman road is called the Appian Way.
Yes.
In Latin, Via Appia. Very good. Which was built in 312 BC by a fellow called Appius Claudius Caecus, which is why it's called the Appian Way, named after him. And this fellow was blind. He was a civil engineer in the Roman Empire. He was blind. But somehow or other, he managed to create the world's first Roman road.
Because a lot of the Roman roads were sort of public. They sort of used the public purse to create these Roman roads.
Yeah, that's right.
But there were a lot of the roads that went off the Roman roads that were private.
Oh, really?
So if you had a town or a village that you wanted to join up to the road system, your village would actually create a road to go to the road, to the main road.
Right.
And similarly, if you had like a farm or something, that you wanted people to come and visit and buy stuff, or you needed to get stuff to market, you could build your own road that joined up to the Roman road, but it had to be to a certain standard.
Right, okay. I'm sort of thinking of my own personal experience as a postman back in the day. I've seen more than my fair share of little local residential side roads. And you do get that. Every now and then you sort of get a cluster of houses, at the end of nothing more than a dirt track. And it's often up to the residents to club together to pour a bit of tarmac on it so that they can get to the next nearest road. And then they run out of money and they fall into disrepair and everyone complains about the potholes, etc.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the different systems people use to name roads. There's an estate in Staines-upon-Thames where I used to work. Every road was named after a different bird. You had Plover Avenue and Hawke's Way and that sort of thing. There's an estate in Shepperton where I used to live. Every road was named after a wife of the builders and architects who created the estate. So Barbara Close, Glen Avenue, Lois Drive, etc.
Oh, wow.
I just think that's charming.
In Fulham, there are alphabet streets that go up the west side, and there's basically there are all these lovely Victorian houses, and the streets are named from B to N.
Okay.
And literally, as you know where you are along the road,
yeah,
and you know how far it is to the road that you're getting to.
Brilliant. Isn't there an alphabet city in New York as well?
Is there?
Avenue A and
they just name the roads after letters, don't they?
Yeah, unless I'm just thinking of the musical
Q.
Avenue Q. Yeah, could be. The Roman roads in this country, at least, sort of were the basis for a lot of our current road systems.
Watling Street.
Yes, Watling Street, Staines Street, things like that. So the Romans built roads to each of the other cities that they occupied, going from Londinium to wherever.
Yes.
They got built up upon year after year, century after century. And if you sort of look at the main roads that go in and out of London, they are pretty much set upon the routes that the Romans laid down. So, the A1 goes up to Scotland, the A2 goes east to Kent, the A3 goes south to Portsmouth, etc., etc. We're still sort of using that old Roman system because there was nothing wrong with it.
No, exactly. And there's the fastest way to get from A to B, as we know, is a straight line.
Yes, indeed.
And the Roman roads were pretty straight.
They were pretty straight.
As were the French. There's the Route Napoleon.
Okay.
Actually, the Route Napoleon is actually quite twisty. It's a fantastic road in the south of France.
Really?
And if you like driving, it's a brilliant road.
Ah.
But what Napoleon did is he created all these roads that had plane trees down each side, so that when he was marching soldiers down these roads, they were in the shade. Because he had trees both sides, so that whichever time of day it was, they were in the shade.
That's brilliant. That's, roughly speaking, the unofficially accepted definition of an avenue.
Is it?
Yeah. So I had a quick look into why do we have road, street, lane, avenue, etc.
Yeah.
And it's roughly determined on the size and the purpose and the layout of that byway. So a road is just any road. A street is usually specifically in an urban area lined with houses and businesses.
Yep.
An avenue is usually a wider road and frequently lined with trees. You've obviously got a cul-de-sac, which is a no-through road. Cul-de-sac meaning bottom of the bag.
Yep.
Which I love. A close is obviously, again, another no-through road. Apparently, we're pronouncing it wrong. I've always wondered why a close is a close.
Yes.
It actually comes from closed.
Oh.
Because it doesn't have an open end. So we should be saying
a
close rather than close.
Interesting. There are no roads in London. Did you know that?
I've been to London. I've seen quite a few of them.
I say London. I mean the city of London.
Okay.
So technically, there are no roads in the city of London.
Why?
They're all streets and avenues and closes.
Oh, fantastic.
And it wasn't because the word road wasn't used until the 16th century.
Oh, really?
And the city of London is pre-16th century.
Yes.
So none of the thoroughfares were actually roads.
Oh, I see.
And it wasn't until 1994 when they redrew the boundaries of the city that there was Goswell Road actually went into the city of London. That was the only road that goes into the city of London.
So if I zoom in on a map of the city of London, the square mile, the central bit, I won't find the word road.
Correct.
How interesting. Didn't know that.
There you go. That's what this podcast is all about.
Yes, we're even teaching each other things. So you said the word road wasn't used until the 1500s. Shakespeare was one of the first people to use the word road. I can't remember which play, but he used it in one of his plays in the knowledge that it would be a fairly unfamiliar, newfangled word. People would have used way or byway or path or track or whatever. Apparently the word road comes from an Old English word reid, which is connected to ride.
Okay.
Riding your horse. So a road was a ride way. It was the way you rode your horse. Street is a Germanic word, apparently from the Latin strata, which just means a paved way.
Mm-hmm.
Avenue comes from French avenir, meaning to approach or to arrive.
Yeah.
They all sort of make sense.
They do. You talked about being a postman and going up lots of side streets.
Yeah.
It was actually the Royal Mail who were the impetus for most of London roads to step up their game.
Oh.
Teams of men from the post office inspected every road from end to end. And if it wasn't in good enough nick for the Royal Mail, they just refused to deliver mail there until it was improved.
Yeah, that sounds like something we'd do.
And that would have a huge effect on, coaching inns would lose business if the mail coaches didn't come, and then bar staff and housekeepers. And so basically the Royal Mail had massive control over the road, which was generally sort of owned by the coach companies mostly. Yes,
I suppose at the time when the mail and the stagecoach and all the rest of it were as one.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yes. So why do we drive on the correct side of the road and the rest of the world doesn't? Apart from Japan, obviously.
It depends who you ask. I've seen a few different alternatives. My favourite, which I think we mentioned in our previous episode on cars, so let's not dwell too long.
See previous episode on cars.
Indeed. Was all to do with the fact that the French aristocracy used to ride on the left side of the road, almost like a dual carriageway, going backwards and forwards on the left, and the peasants completely separate on the right. The French Revolution came along and said, no, none of this. Everyone is going to drive on the right. Just that's the way it's going to be. Napoleon then enforced that ruling on everywhere that he owned. So all of Europe drives on the right.
Yeah.
The only reason we drive on the left is because we wanted to do the opposite of what France did.
Well, see, I heard that we drove on the left because of jousting.
Okay.
But I've only heard this recently, and I haven't checked it.
Right.
Because it looks like if you're holding your lance in your right hand,
yes,
you're better off being on the left-hand side of the, what's it called?
The tilt.
Tilt, yes.
Wouldn't it be? No, because doesn't your lance go across the tilt diagonally? Don't you ride on the right with your lance in your right hand pointing towards the guy on the left?
Okay, so whoever told me this about jousting is obviously
wrong.
There is, however, a road in the UK where you do drive on the right.
Oh!
I bet you know what it is.
Oh, I know this one. Is it the entrance to the Savoy Hotel in London?
It is!
Yes! Back of the net.
It's so that carriages can set people down nicely.
That's right, yes. Oh, I finally got one of Bruce's quizzes. This is the moment where I'm afraid I'm going to get quite geeky, if I'm not already. The UK road numbering system has fascinated me ever since I was a kid. My dad told me how the UK road numbering system works in a nutshell. And I don't know, it has just fascinated me ever since. The UK roads were only started to be numbered in 1913. Before then, they were just named. If you were on the road leading to Portsmouth, you were on the Portsmouth Road.
We had the Great North Road and the Great West Road, didn't we?
Exactly, all of that. Fulham Palace Road was the road that took you towards Fulham Palace, etc.
Yeah.
They're quite standard names. But
except most of the roads in the UK would be called London Road because they led from wherever they were to London.
There's a thing where, again, going back to my postal days, if you would picture a long road that goes from A to B, at the A end, it's going to be called B Road. So that road in London that heads to Portsmouth is going to be called Portsmouth Road. When you get to Portsmouth, it's going to be called London Road because it heads back to London. So it changes its name depending on which end you're at. Yes, exactly that, yeah. So it gets confusing. I used to live in Shepperton, where there was a road that led to Staines. So it was called Staines Road Shepperton. You got to the other end, it became Shepperton Road Staines. Halfway through, you hit Laleham, and it became Shepperton Road Laleham and Staines Road Laleham. And it just messy. In 1913, they started to number them, not because it would be more convenient, purely because they wanted to know which roads they were talking about in taxation purposes to raise money to repair them.
Right.
But then the idea sort of caught on, and by the 1920s, all of the roads were being renumbered according to this particular system, set up by a civil engineer called Henry Maybury, who worked for the Road Board. And he came up with this numbering system where all the main roads in England would begin with the letter A, all the minor roads would begin with B, and then they would have numbers. So you would know you were driving on the A34 or whatever. And again, if we go back to that image of the main Roman routes in and out of London, they're based on that. So the A1 goes north to Scotland, the A2 goes east to Kent, the A3 goes south to Portsmouth, the A4 goes west and north a bit to Bath, the A5 goes up to Wales. Sort of like a clock, you can picture going around London in a clockwise manner, and that's how you get the numbers. But the thing that I found most fascinating that my dad told me, the A10 isn't really the A10. The A10 doesn't come after the A9. It's more like the A1.0. Because the A10 comes immediately after the A1.
Yes.
So it's the first road after the A1,
so you're saying like
clockwise.
A1.1, A1.2?
Yes. Yes, exactly that. So the A20 is the first road clockwise after the A2. The A30 is the first road clockwise after the A3. So it's not a decimal number, it's more like a point.
3.0,
so,
yeah.
Yeah. And then the 3-digit road numbers follow exactly the same pattern. So the A301 is the first road after the A30.
So did they know this when they were building Stonehenge, when they were going for the 3.03?
I don't know for certain that the builders of Stonehenge knew this, but that is why the A303 is called the A303, because it's the third road after the A30, which is in turn the first road after the A3.
Wow.
This concept just blew my mind at a very young age, and I still love it.
Yeah, it now makes complete sense.
It does.
Absolutely
sort of.
Right.
Then motorways came along. By and large, the motorways in England just copied the name of the nearest main road. So the M1 is near the A1. The M25 goes around the A25. The M4 is parallel to the A4, etc.
Except the M1 wasn't the first motorway.
No, it wasn't. What was the first motorway?
The first motorway was the M6.
To Birmingham.
The Preston Bypass.
Ah, right, okay.
So the Preston Bypass was 8 miles of motorway. And that was the very first motorway in the UK.
Right. And that was called the M6 because it was quite close to the A6.
Yes.
Not because it was the 6th M to come along.
Yes. Did you know that the M6 toll is made out of Pulp Fiction?
Nope. That needs explaining. What's Quentin Tarantino got to do with this?
So to make the surface on the M6, they actually decided that there would be a better way of making a more solid, stable road surface because it was on a slightly dodgy bit of ground.
Okay. And
Mills and Boon donated about 2.5 million books, which were pulped up and mixed with the asphalt. So if you feel romantic as you're driving along the M6 toll, now you know why.
That's brilliant.
Of course, the people who do roads probably better than most of us are the Americans because they rely so heavily on their cars.
Yes, of course.
And they're obviously, because they're very long and they're across sort of fairly featureless areas of geographical vegetation.
Sure.
They don't have to curve.
Well, no, that makes sense.
But occasionally, when you're driving through North Dakota or Montana, you'll see a stop sign on this absolutely straight road, and there'll be a slight right turn.
Okay.
And that's to account for the curvature of the earth.
I beg your pardon.
So because they're so long and so straight, and the earth curves, they actually have to slightly turn right every so often just to keep going in a straight line.
That's amazing. How would the flat earthers explain that?
Well, I know. But I mean, there are some very long roads in America. There's the Pan-American Highway.
Yes, okay, I've heard of that.
So that goes from Alaska all the way to Argentina.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. That's 25,000 miles long.
Whoa.
that's a long road.
That's a long old road. Crikey.
But they make highways out of the most slippery stuff. They make highways out of concrete a lot of the time. So when it rains, they get very slippery.
Yes.
That's why they have so many sort of pile-ups.
Yes. But when it comes to town planning, they do have a reasonably straightforward system, don't they?
The grid system.
Grids, yeah.
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 Well, again, you know where you are, don't you?
Yes, exactly, yes. I can't remember which way around it is, but I think in New York, all of the avenues run east to west and all of the streets run north to south.
Ooh.
Or possibly vice versa. So if you meet someone on the corner of 5th Street and Elm Avenue, or something like that, you know precisely where you are. It's quite a good way to mark the thing out.
Yes, except that city blocks in America, which I thought was like fairly small, they are massive.
Yes, yeah.
So if somebody says, "I'll meet you on so and so and something," that's a lot of space to cover.
Yes. You take a quick stroll down Broadway and you're there all afternoon.
Well, Broadway goes diagonally.
Oh, it does. You're right.
So that's another tricky one.
Huh. I saw the term Stravenue.
Oh.
To describe the diagonal roads in New York, because they're not quite a street, they're not quite an avenue, they're a Stravenue.
Yeah. That's very good.
It's nice, isn't it?
I like that. Why did the chicken cross the road?
To get to the other side, surely.
How did the chicken cross the road?
By walking, surely.
Well, there are lots of different ways to cross roads, aren't there?
Okay, yes.
So there are traffic lights, there are bridges, there are tunnels. There are all sorts of ways that like the pedestrian road interface is quite varied.
You get zebra crossings, you get pelican crossings.
Toucan crossings.
Policia beacons, all sorts.
Yes. But I like the way that we use animals, like the zebra, pelican, and the toucan.
Yes, it's odd, isn't it?
Zebra crossings are interesting. The first one was in Slough.
In Slough?
In 1951.
What a wonderful accolade for Slough to have.
Yeah, I mean, naturally, the reason they call it a zebra crossing is fairly obvious, because they have their black and white stripes.
Yes, of course.
There's a rumour that James Callaghan, who I think was Prime Minister.
He was.
In 1948, he visited the Transport and Road Research Lab, and he said it looked like a zebra.
I mean, he's not entirely wrong, I suppose. He could have said penguin.
That's quite right. And then we have these sort of flashing yellow, flashing orange sort of globes on the top where there are zebras.
Yes, are they called Policia beacons?
Yeah, after a chap who was the Minister of Transport in 1934, a man called Leslie Hore Belisha. HORE-Belisha.
Oh, what a name.
Isn't that a great name?
Thank goodness we didn't call them whore beacons.
Well, yes. One of the things about roads is that a lot can happen on a road.
Sure.
Because you tend to be starting from someplace and finishing somewhere else.
Yes.
So they tend to get used an awful lot in the plots of fiction.
Yes, of course they do.
And in books and in songs.
Yes.
And in films. I mean, if you think about the number of road trip films that there are.
Yes, there are a lot.
It's absolutely huge.
Mostly American.
Yes. I mean, everything from like Thelma and Louise to Duel and Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, the Darjeeling Limited, the Green Book. But I think the reason is because it's like you're stuck in a very small space with people that you may or may not know really. If you know them really well, that's great. If you don't know them really well, that's also great.
Yes.
And it's just an environment that's available for exposition.
And for quite a long time as well. You know, the Great American Road Trip movie wouldn't work if it were in England, because you'd be in the car for half an hour and then you'd arrive. But there are so many movies and books and songs where someone has a transformative experience whilst on their 2-week road trip.
Or even 24 hours away from Tulsa.
Tulsa, example. Yes, exactly. Yeah. There's always a hero riding their motorbike into the sunset, or things like that. There's always something exciting that happens when you stop at a cheap roadside motel, or very popular.
So, Simon, it's usually at this point in the podcast that I ask you about records, but I'm going to give you a record first.
Oh, goody, go on then.
Okay, what's the most expensive road in the world?
I don't know.
It was $125,000
That doesn't seem very expensive.
per inch.
That seems quite expensive.
This is a road in Abu Dhabi. It was 100 miles long, well, it still is 100 miles long, and it cost $8 billion,
Goodness me.
which works out to $125,000 an inch.
Was it paved with gold?
I don't think so.
Wow.
What facts do you have for us?
I've got, you mentioned that particularly long road in America.
Yes.
So that's the longest route. It's
Okay.
not one single road. It's a whole load of roads that you can drive along in a particular route.
Right.
According to Guinness, the longest continuous road, single road, is Australia's Highway 1, which goes around the whole country and has a length of 9,024 miles.
I've driven on that.
Have you?
Yeah.
Ah,
It's actually a very pretty... I went to the bit that was by the sea. It was very pretty.
okay. Lovely. The world's widest road has the best name of a road I've ever heard. The Monumental Axis in Brazil, which measures 250 metres wide.
Sorry.
I don't know why.
250 metres wide.
Yeah.
That's a wide road.
It is a wide road. It doesn't specifically say how many lanes there are. It doesn't say why it needs to be that wide, but that wide it is. So presumably quite a high capacity for traffic. India holds several consecutive records for the fastest constructed road. They just seem to build roads really quickly.
Uh-huh. Do they build them faster than that thing on Thunderbirds?
No, not as fast as that.
I'll put a link in the show notes to the road laying machine in Thunderbirds, which is quite
Definitely
something.
not as fast as that. But a few years ago, in New Delhi, they constructed a 2.5 kilometre road in just 24 hours.
Wow.
Followed a year later by a 112 kilometre road, which they put down in just under 5 days. And you think about,
Crikey.
how long the smallest amount of roadworks take in this country. That's quite impressive.
We need to get some of those guys over here.
Yes.
I think that's me done.
Yes, I think I've completed my road trip of knowledge.
Thank you so much for listening to us. We absolutely appreciate you listening, especially this far into it. I mean, for this, you've been listening for this long.
Yes, well done. And if you have indeed enjoyed this and all other episodes that you've listened to, please go ahead and give us a like, give us a lovely, shiny 5-star review, and please feel free to share this podcast with your equally nerdy chums. I'm sure they'd love to have a listen.
If you've got friends who like roads, this is a perfectly good podcast for them to listen to.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for coming along. Please join us again for another fun-filled episode of
Factoraly.
Goodbye.
Au revoir.